Welcome back to the Research Review Radio. So what we're going to be doing is taking a deep dive into a single research paper chosen by our incredible production team.
Okay.
The one we have today is actually a bit of a vintage one.
Oh.
It is called Reward and Punishment in Indian Folktales
Interesting.
by Artur Karp, published in 1981.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, I'm intrigued already.
Yeah.
1981, gotta love a good vintage deep dive.
Exactly.
But what is it about this paper that really stood out to the team?
Well, I think what grabbed us is that it kind of acts like a decoder ring for a specific culture.
Ah.
So it's looking at how these Indian folktales, the kind of stories that are passed down through generations,
Yeah.
actually reveal a lot about a culture's values and beliefs.
Right. Like they're not just entertainment. They're little cultural capsules carrying all this information about how people thought
Exactly.
and what they valued.
Yeah, things like their views on risk, on danger,
Yeah.
even on social order and things like that.
Right. It's like a window into their worldview.
Exactly.
The stories.
And I love that, because we think about folktales, we're like, oh yeah, bedtime stories.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to it.
Absolutely.
So how does Karp actually go about kind of peeling back these layers?
Well, he focuses on what he calls the striking hero motif.
Okay.
And this is where a hero in a story interacts with something that's unknown
Right.
or something they think they know.
Uh-huh.
And it has all these consequences.
Mm.
Right. So it's almost like a test
Oh, interesting.
of the hero's understanding of their world
Yeah.
and how they fit into it.
Okay.
And what he does that's really cool is he compares tales with low status heroes.
Okay.
Like the chamars, who were traditionally leather workers, to tales with high status heroes like kings and Brahmins,
Ooh.
to see how this motif plays out.
So that's almost like he's trying to see if the rules in the universe,
Yes,
as reflected in these stories, apply equally to everybody,
exactly.
or if your social standing
Mm.
gives you kind of a different set of consequences.
Yeah. Is there a different set of rules for different people?
Yeah.
That's what he's looking at.
Okay.
And it's fascinating stuff. And he does this by analyzing 6 specific tales.
Okay.
And he groups them based on what the hero does
Okay.
and what happens to them, right?
Okay.
So he's got active heroes.
Yeah.
Those are the ones who kind of jump in, take direct action.
Okay.
And then he's got active passive heroes.
Okay.
These are the ones that might start out doing stuff, but then they become more passive and rely on others to help them out
Oh, interesting.
of whatever mess they've created.
So what kind of stories are we actually talking about here? Like, what's an example of this striking hero motif in action?
Oh, well, there's a great one called The Jackal and the Trap.
Okay.
So this jackal, he comes across a piece of meat.
Okay. Sounds good so far.
Yeah, it sounds delicious, right?
Yeah.
Left behind after a hunter and a boar killed each other in a fight.
Oh, okay. So free lunch.
Yeah. Free lunch. What could possibly go wrong?
Exactly.
Well, the jackal, he doesn't notice the trap under the meat.
Oh,
Goes for that easy meal.
Yeah.
Snap, caught in the trap, killed instantly.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Okay, so is this like a cautionary tale about, looking beyond the surface,
Yes.
not just going for the easy reward?
Absolutely, yeah. Don't be blinded by what seems like a simple win, right?
Right.
There might be something lurking beneath the surface.
Yeah. Okay. And because the jackal is, a low status creature.
Yes.
Could this also be saying something about, I don't know, the dangers of social climbing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, trying to take what's not rightfully yours. Overreaching your position.
Interesting. Okay, so even these seemingly simple stories have these really kind of complex layers of meaning.
Oh, yeah, tons of them. Now, what about a story with a high status hero, though?
Okay.
Does that same principle apply?
Yeah.
Well, there's one called The Farmer and the Black Dog.
Okay.
And in this one, you've got a wealthy farmer. He's having this feast for his friends,
Okay.
and he spots a black dog hanging around.
So just a friendly dog looking for some scraps?
Well, not quite. This dog, he seems a little menacing, like maybe even supernatural.
Oh, okay.
And the farmer decides to throw him a bone.
Oh, this does not sound good.
No, it doesn't, does it? Well, he accidentally hits the dog in the eye.
Oh.
And later that night, the dog attacks the farmer and kills him.
Oh.
Yeah.
So even though the farmer is high status, he's still subject to the consequences of his actions.
Exactly. Yeah, the universe as reflected in these tales, it doesn't play favorites.
So it's not about being punished because you're low status or rewarded because you're high status.
Right?
It's about the kind of inherent consequences of your choices.
Yeah, there's this concept that Karp explores throughout the paper. He calls it imminent justice.
Okay.
Basically, it's the idea that actions have consequences regardless of your social standing. Right. Or even your intentions sometimes.
Well, it's like the universe has its own set of laws.
Yeah.
Cause and effect.
Exactly. And that concept of imminent justice, it's woven through all 6 tales that Karp analyzes.
Okay.
He looks at stories where heroes face irreversible losses.
Okay.
Like death.
Okay.
But also others where the losses are reversible, but they still pay a price.
So it's not always black and white.
No, not at all. Sometimes there's room for recovery.
Yeah.
But there might be some scars.
Yeah, okay.
So tell me more about these different categories of tales.
Okay, so in the next category, we move away from the active heroes.
Right.
Who make those kind of initial, often fatal mistakes.
Yeah.
We get into the active passive heroes.
Right.
These are the ones who they might start out taking action, but then they kind of become passive.
Yeah.
Almost helpless.
Yeah.
And have to rely on others to save them.
Exactly, yeah. They set something in motion, but then they don't have the ability or maybe the willingness to really deal with the full consequences.
Oh, interesting. So what kind of stories are in this category?
Well, there's one about a young boy. He goes to town to buy sweets for a family gathering.
Yeah.
And on his way back, he decides to take a shortcut through the forest.
Uh-oh.
And stops to rest under a shady tree.
This is not sounding good.
What's wrong with the tree?
It's haunted or something.
It might be, yes.
Huh?
He unknowingly disturbs some kind of spirit dwelling within the tree. And as a result, he loses his mind.
Thus is he doomed?
Thankfully, no.
Okay.
His family calls an exorcist.
Okay.
Who performs a ritual to extract the spirit, trap it in a clay pot.
Okay.
The boy's sanity is restored, but.
There's always a but.
There's always a but.
What's the catch?
Well, the exorcist demands a hefty fee for his services.
Okay.
And the boy himself, he's completely passive throughout the ordeal.
Yeah.
He doesn't participate in his own healing. He's just kind of a vessel for the exorcist's actions.
So it's a reversible loss.
Yeah.
He gets his sanity back, but it costs him.
Right.
Financially and also psychologically.
Yeah, absolutely.
He doesn't really have agency in his recovery.
Exactly, yeah. And it really highlights those power dynamics.
Yeah.
Even in these situations of, dire need.
It's a good reminder that even when help is available,
right,
it might not come without strings attached.
Absolutely.
What about the other tale in this category? The one with the high status hero?
Yes.
Does that follow a similar pattern?
It does, in a way.
Okay.
It's called The Foolish Brahmin.
Okay.
It's a bit of a classic cautionary tale.
Right.
You've got this poor Brahmin. He decides to leave his family, go seek his fortune in the city.
Okay.
And he gets hopelessly lost in the forest.
Oh, no.
Yeah, not good. But as luck would have it,
okay,
he comes across a tiger trapped in a cage.
Oh.
And what does he do?
Lets him out.
He lets the tiger out.
Why would he do that?
I know, right?
That's like surviving in the forest rule number 1.
I know. Don't free the apex predator.
Exactly.
But he probably thought he was doing a good deed.
I guess.
Yeah.
But of course the tiger immediately wants to eat him.
Of course.
So now he's in even more trouble than he was before.
Exactly. Well, luckily, a clever fox enters the scene.
Oh, good.
And manages to trick the tiger back into the cage.
Okay.
Saving the Brahmin's life.
Ew.
Yeah, close one.
Yeah. But I bet there's a price to pay for such a foolish mistake.
Oh, you bet. Everyone's praising the fox for its intelligence.
Right.
But the Brahmin, he's ridiculed for his stupidity.
Okay.
His reputation's tarnished. His pride takes a major hit.
So it's another case of reversible loss.
Yeah.
Avoids the ultimate punishment.
Uh-huh.
But his social standing suffers.
Right.
Because he wasn't really an active participant in his own rescue.
Yeah, he's passive.
Yeah.
Right. And that passivity, we see it in both the boy's tale and the Brahmin's tale.
Yeah.
It seems to be a key factor in these stories of reversible loss.
Like the message is, even when help is available.
Right.
True growth,
Yeah.
true success
Yeah.
comes from actually engaging,
Yes,
taking responsibility,
absolutely.
and not just kind of hoping someone's going to bail you out.
Exactly. Yeah, it's those learn from your mistakes stories, right? But with a cultural twist, you get a second chance, but you still got to deal with those initial choices.
Yeah, you got to face the music.
You got to face music, exactly.
Yeah.
So we've got irreversible loss, we've got reversible loss.
Yeah.
But Karp also analyzes a category where heroes achieve total gain.
Oh.
These are the ones with the happy endings.
Okay, after the last two, we need some happy endings.
We need some happy endings, right? All right, buckle up, because these tales get a little magical.
Oh, okay, bring on the magic.
So, first story in this category features a low-status girl named Nuna Shamaran.
Okay.
And while she's washing clothes by a river, she finds a clay pot filled with cooked meat.
Okay, wait a minute.
What's wrong?
Didn't the jackal meet his end because of some seemingly delicious meat?
You would think, right?
Yeah, I'm nervous for Nuna.
But here's where things take a turn.
Okay.
Instead of being punished, Nuna actually gains magical powers after eating the meat.
Wow, so the meat was, like, charmed or something.
Exactly. Yeah, and this detail actually links the story to real-life beliefs and rituals surrounding sorcerers and magical healing.
Okay.
So in some versions of the tale, the meat is said to belong to a powerful sorcerer.
Okay.
And by consuming it, Nuna inherits some of his abilities.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's like blurring the lines between myth and reality.
It is.
Where magic isn't just out of stories, it's like part of everyday life.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a worldview where these things are all mixed up together.
Yeah, okay, that's fascinating.
And speaking of magic,
Okay.
The second tale of Total Gain features a hero you might recognize.
Okay.
Ramji, also known as Lord Rama from the epic Ramayana.
Okay.
Now, while searching for his kidnapped wife, Sita, he comes across a very unusual sight.
What does he find?
A talking stone.
Talking stone. Okay, what happens next?
Well, Ramji, being the hero that he is, he doesn't hesitate.
Okay.
He kicks the stone.
Okay.
Splits it open.
Please don't tell me there's some trapped creature in there.
No, don't worry.
Okay.
This time, happy ending.
Okay.
A woman emerges from the stone, thanking Ramji for freeing her from a curse.
Oh.
That had turned her to stone.
Oh, so it's like a reverse Medusa situation?
It is.
But why was she cursed?
The story doesn't get into that.
Okay.
But what's important is that Ramji, through this simple act of kicking the stone, he breaks the curse and sets her free.
So what happens next? Does she give him directions to the nearest Starbucks as a reward?
Well, she tells him where to find Sita.
Oh.
Which sets in motion the events that lead to his eventual victory and their reunion.
Okay, so the ultimate reward.
It is, yeah.
Getting his wife back.
Yeah.
Restoring order.
Exactly.
I love how, like, these seemingly random acts of kindness can lead to such significant outcomes.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Karp points out a possible connection between Ramji kicking the stone and real-life exorcism rituals.
Okay, what's the connection?
Well, in some rituals, physical actions like beating or striking, they're used to drive out spirits or break curses.
Okay.
So Ramji's action might be a symbolic representation of that practice.
Wow. So it's like these folktales aren't just stories.
Right.
They're like echoes of real beliefs.
Yeah. And practices, they give us a deeper understanding of the culture that created them.
We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
Exploring that striking hero motif.
Yes.
Analyzing these 6 diverse Indian folktales.
Yep.
Stories of loss, redemption, magical transformations.
It's been a journey.
Yeah. And we've seen how that idea of imminent justice kind of plays out. This idea that actions have consequences.
Yes.
Regardless of social standing.
Absolutely.
But before we wrap up our deep dive into Karp's research, there's one kind of crucial question we need to address.
All right.
Does a hero's social status ultimately influence their fate?
Ooh, the big question.
Yeah. Like, are low-status heroes just destined to suffer?
Right.
And the high-status heroes, they always come out on top.
Yeah, is it all preordained?
Exactly. So after analyzing these 6 tales, what does Karp conclude?
Yeah, spill the beans.
Is there a connection between social status and outcome?
Well, that's what's so interesting about this research. It's not a simple answer. It's not as if low-status heroes are always punished.
Okay.
And high-status heroes are always rewarded.
So it's not just, you get what you deserve based on where you are in society.
Exactly, yeah. Remember that concept of imminent justice
Yeah.
that we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
That seems to be the real driving force here.
Okay.
It's about those consequences of your choices, not some predetermined fate based on your social status.
That's kind of a refreshing perspective, honestly.
I think so too.
It suggests, that these individuals, they have agency.
Right.
They can make choices that shape their destinies, regardless of where they start out.
And it really pushes us to think about these folktales as more than just simple morality plays.
Yeah.
Right? They're offering us a glimpse into a much more complex understanding of what it means to be human.
Yeah.
Right? Where those individual actions and the consequences that follow are really central to the narrative.
And that nuance, I think, is really evident when you start comparing these different stories.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, you've got the jackal,
Right.
low-status creature,
Yeah.
gives in to temptation,
Yeah.
meets a tragic end because he doesn't really assess the situation fully.
Right. He's just so focused on that reward.
Yeah, that easy meal.
Yeah.
That he misses the hidden danger.
Totally.
And then you've got the farmer, right?
Yeah.
A high-status individual, but he also acts impulsively.
Yeah, he does.
Throwing that bone at the black dog
Uh-huh.
doesn't stop to think about the potential consequences.
Nope.
And ultimately suffers a similar fate.
So both the low status and the high status, they make choices
Right.
that lead to,
To their downfall.
yeah.
Yeah, it really underscores that idea that imminent justice,
Yeah.
It applies across social levels.
It does. Okay. And
Yeah.
even in those stories where they experience those reversible losses,
Right.
it's not like the high status hero is guaranteed a smooth ride.
Exactly, yeah. Think about the young boy who loses his mind after resting under that spirit tree.
Oh, yeah.
He's from a poor family.
Right.
And while he is healed by the exorcist, his family has to pay the price.
Yeah.
Right? And he himself remains passive throughout the whole thing.
And then you have the foolish Brahmin,
Oh, yes.
who, despite his high status, makes a series of blunders.
He does.
Puts himself in danger, damages his reputation.
Yep.
Rescued by the clever fox, but then he's the object of ridicule.
Totally.
His pride is wounded.
Right. So both the boy and the Brahmin, despite their very different social standings, they experience the consequences of their actions.
Yeah.
Right. And are ultimately reliant on others to clean up the mess.
It's like those stories are almost, they're highlighting
Yeah.
the importance of personal responsibility,
Yes.
agency,
Absolutely.
regardless of your position.
Yeah, that true growth and success, it doesn't come from, just relying on your status to protect you.
Right.
It comes from actively engaging with the challenges in front of you.
Right, making those choices.
Yeah, exactly.
And that emphasis on personal action, I think it's even more pronounced in those stories where they achieve that total gain.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, you got Nuna Shamaran,
Yes.
that low-status girl who finds that pot of magical meat.
Right.
I mean, she stumbles upon this good fortune, but
Yeah.
she benefits because she makes the choice.
Exactly. Yeah. She doesn't hesitate.
Yeah.
Doesn't question her luck. She just takes the opportunity presented to her
Yeah.
and gains these extraordinary abilities.
And then you have Ramji,
Yes.
who's already this high-status hero.
Right.
But even he has to take action. He's got to kick the crying stone to break the curse.
Exactly.
And then ultimately it's that action that sets in motion
Right.
the events that lead to his victory.
So even though he's powerful, he's not just handed a happy ending.
Right.
He's got to make choices
Right.
that align with the principles of the universe as they're depicted in these stories.
It's like the stories are saying, yes, your social standing might give you certain advantages,
Right.
but ultimately it's your choices and actions that determine your fate,
Absolutely.
which is such a powerful message when you think about the context.
Yeah, absolutely. It suggests this worldview
Yeah.
that allows for social mobility,
Yeah.
personal agency.
Even within a hierarchical society.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, right,
Yeah.
how these stories might have functioned
Yeah.
as a way to kind of instill these values.
Yeah. It's not just about teaching people to obey the rules.
Right.
It's also about encouraging them to take responsibility.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Believe that they can shape their own destinies.
Right. It's a reminder that these folktales, they're not just entertainment.
Yeah.
They're cultural artifacts
Absolutely.
that teach us how a society view the world.
And the people in it, exactly. Now, we've talked a lot about those actions
Yeah.
of heroes, that idea of imminent justice.
Uh-huh.
But there's another layer to Karp's analysis that I
Mm.
find particularly fascinating.
Okay.
You've mentioned a few times how these folk tales connect to those real-life rituals and beliefs.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear more about that.
Well, it's fascinating. Karp really highlights those blurred lines
Yeah.
between those fantastical elements of the stories and the actual cultural practices.
Okay, give me an example.
Okay, well, take the story of Nuna Shamaran,
Okay.
the girl who gains those magical powers from eating the charmed meat.
Remember how in some versions that meat is said to belong to a powerful sorcerer?
Yeah, it's like she's inheriting his abilities
Exactly.
by consuming it.
Yeah. And that detail, it connects the story to real beliefs about sorcerers,
Okay.
the transmission of magical power.
Right.
It suggests the story might be more than just a fanciful tale.
Yeah.
It could be reflecting actual anxieties or beliefs
Oh, interesting.
about magic and those who wield it.
So it's tapping into those deeper cultural.
Fears, fascinations
Yeah.
surrounding magic and the supernatural.
Okay, and it's not just Nuna's story.
No.
What about Ramji and that crying stone?
Yes. Karp suggests that kicking the stone, that action
Yeah.
could be symbolic of real exorcism rituals,
Okay.
where those physical actions, beating, striking,
Yeah.
are used to drive out spirits or break curses.
Right. So it's like those everyday actions we
Yeah.
see in the stories.
Yeah. Eating cake, resting under a tree,
Yeah.
take on a whole other meaning
Yes.
when we consider that connection to rituals.
Absolutely. It highlights how these folk tales weren't just meant to entertain,
Okay.
but also to transmit that cultural knowledge,
Yeah.
beliefs across generations.
Right. It's almost like a secret language
It is.
embedded in the stories.
Waiting to be decoded.
Yeah.
And once you understand that language,
Yeah.
you gain this whole other appreciation.
Yeah. For the depth and complexity.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, right,
Yeah.
what other hidden meanings and connections are we missing?
Right. If we don't look beyond the surface,
Yeah,
it's a reminder that these folk tales, they're artifacts.
they are.
They hold clues
Yeah,
to a society's values, their beliefs, even their fears.
absolutely. And by studying them carefully, we can learn so much.
Yeah.
Not just about a particular culture, but about the human experience as a whole.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into reward and punishment in Indian folktales, what's the takeaway? What do you hope people will remember?
I think the biggest takeaway is the power of these stories to act as these cultural mirrors.
Okay.
Right. They're reflecting society's anxieties, their hopes, their beliefs about the universe.
And how it works.
How it works. And by paying attention to those reflections, we can understand so much more
Yeah.
about, not just that one specific culture,
Yeah.
but about the human experience across time,
Across-
cultures, cross cultures. Exactly.
Okay.
And it leaves us with a question to consider.
Okay.
What if we applied the same approach to our own folktales,
Ooh,
our
yeah.
own cultures?
Wait.
What would we find?
What hidden meanings and connections would we uncover about ourselves?
Exactly.
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, it's an invitation, right?
Yeah.
To go back, re-examine those stories we think we know so well.
Yeah, and see them with fresh eyes.
Exactly, because who knows?
Yeah.
Stories might just have a lot more to teach us
Than we ever imagined.
than they've ever imagined. Exactly.
Well, thanks for joining me on this fascinating journey
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
through the world of Indian folktales.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning,
Keep diving deep.
and keep diving deep.